known for turning the screenplay of the movie Rocky into a novel, but Julia Sorrell nails it, I think, in the following line. If you're never scared or embarrassed or hurt, it means you never take any chances. Isn't that cool? If you're never scared or embarrassed or hurt, it means you never take any chances. Some of the chances I've taken were not consciously risky. Some of my earlier chances weren't bold. They stemmed from a kind of blissful naivete on my part. The youngest in a family of 5, with 3 older brothers, I had grown up simply doing whatever any of my older siblings did, with my mom and my dad encouraging each of us to try everything that interested us. While there was a definite segregation of jobs along gender lines in my household growing up, and I'll tell you that grated on me more and more the older I got, I'm glad that I had the chance to thank my mom repeatedly for also being a model of courage in the face of difficulty. She taught us that girls and boys can do that. And she taught us also that simply making sure that I knew that the world was a place to taste and experience, do whatever I put a mind to. That's what my mom taught me. And I'm glad that I had the chance to thank her repeatedly. So somehow I thought that I might write quite a bit for you today about her telling us Durkee kids that we would do well to avoid ministry and would do well to avoid a career in music. That's what my dad and my mom had done. Well, my oldest brother has made his living making music in many ways, lifelong, and I ended up in ministry. But I still hear her voice telling me that I could have several careers. I could change my mind and still have a fulfilling life. And I want you to remember that. You can change your mind and be productive in different ways as you make your way forward. But when I happened on the Sorrell quotation earlier this week, although I thought of my mom and her quiet perseverance as a single mother with 5 kids in the 60s and 70s, my mom was a liberated woman without ever burning a bra, and I'm grateful that she let me take chances, always catching me if I stumbled or fell. So I want to share with you a story I actually had written as a story, but I hope it lets you see how far we've all come in just 44 or so years. And I thank Mr. Moore because he wrote something kind of cool the other day that had me imagining smoke in the air, because there must have been cigarette smoke. I don't have any distinct recollection of it, but it was 1973, and at that point, wherever men gathered, I remember a cloud of bluish smoke circling over their heads. I also don't remember to what building my mother brought me, but I remember climbing stairs that late winter, the only female persons to make our way up to the table for registration. In every other instance, in every other coupling, there were fathers and sons together, filling out forms, and in most cases, swapping very familiar hellos with the men behind the counter. If it wasn't a Wednesday night or a weekend, my own father was in his new home, nearly an hour away, in an old barn refurbished for human habitation, with the best part being a roof-high swing in the living room. Only to my mother and to me, as we approached, was a question raised: can I help you? In any other circumstance, in any other place, and for any other gathering where human beings meet across the table for an exchange of information or sales, can I help you? Would have been a normal question. But even I, at 8 years old, knew that the man seemingly offering to assist my mother had anything but help in mind. Don't get me wrong, they weren't nasty, they weren't particularly demeaning, but these men weren't encouraging. We're here to sign Lisa up for the Little League. Oh, Mrs. Durkee, I don't think you want to do that. Yes, I do. Lisa wants to play baseball, and we're here to sign her up. Again, the response by the man just to the right of the first speaker wasn't malicious, but neither was he supportive of my desire to be the first female Hank Aaron. It had never crossed my mind that gender would be more prohibitive of my chasing Babe Ruth's record than would Aaron's being black. Oh, Mrs. Durkee, Little League is for boys. You know that. A Although none of the men smoked cigars in that fuzzy part of my memory, as I recall it now, there was almost a cartoonish quality to the way that the suggestion that I wouldn't play ball. And sorry, some of you kids may never have heard of Edward G. Robinson, but I know some of the adults have, because I heard, here's the thing, Mrs. Durkee, Little League is for boys, see? Still, each of the men looked a little nervous. They probably weren't sure of the rules regarding whether or not girls were even allowed to play. It was only the year before that Maria Pepe had been the first girl to play on a New Jersey team, but she was forced to leave after 3 games. Can you imagine that, girls? To credit my mom, I don't think she cared what the rules were. She only knew that I loved to play the game, and I wanted to be on a team. This was the first of many times that Mom supported me in pursuing anything that crossed my mind. After all, it wasn't like I was pulling a Katherine Johnston. She hid her hair under her hat and actually posed as a boy in order to play in 1951. We were going in legitimately, simply so that I could play a game I loved. There was a lot of whispered conversation behind the table, and without much debate beyond their initial reluctance, I was signed up. And even before the landmark decision in 1974 that officially changed the rule for the Little League nationwide. Well, now, I might hang my head a little here. My first season, it was not illustrious. My field time was relegated to the black hole of starting positions for 8 years old. Can you name it? Right field. Almost no one in the farm leagues could generate enough power to hit the ball to the outfield, and those who did, they caught it early, bringing it to the left fielder, or more likely just past the shortstop. So I learned how to search for dandelions while waiting for the Wildcats' chance to get to bat. Blue t-shirts with Metuchen Little League on it, and polyester hats that made our heads sweat. They were far better than any dress my mother would make me wear on Sunday to church. Those uniforms were a badge of glory and of privilege. They were not, though, keys to a high batting average. I got 2 hits that year, and providing fuel for the criticism of a lot of the men. I knew, though, that I could field better than most of their sons, and was a better all-around player than some of the boys, for sure. I've often told the story of my rise through the ranks of Metuchen Little League, where I first was joined by Gail Arbeiter and Colleen Kelly, the later stars of basketball in town and all around stellar athletes. But the short version is the most fun to tell to people who have less interest in early moments in women's rights in the 70s. Here's the story. The first year I played, I got 2 hits and played right field. For the second year I played first base and pitched. I was voted MVP. The third year I played, I was promoted from the Farms to the American League, the Blue Sox, and I played third base, hot corner. I was on the All-Star team. The fourth year I played right field, and I got 2 hits. Somehow over the summer between 5th and 6th grades, the boys filled out a bit, getting stronger and getting faster. The pitches were faster too, and I could never seem to connect. It almost didn't matter to me, though, at that point. I was part of the team. Mr. Brown, who was the father of a classmate of mine since kindergarten and who was a local sanitation worker, well, he made me feel absolutely one of the boys. We started our practices in March that year in Oakland Park. Maybe Mr. Peruta knows it. The field farthest from home for my friend Colin and me. I was coated with a thin layer of snow on day 1. Catching fly balls in the outfield between catching snowflakes on our tongue. We could barely run because of the long johns under our jeans. We had biked the 2 or so miles across town for our Saturday practice, and as if it were one of the warm spring days we were looking forward to, we stopped in for ice cream at Breyers when we rode down Main Street. And at that point, I crossed over from thinking of Colin only as a good second baseman to making him the main character of my waking and my sleeping dreams. He's still my heart. Somehow, our being on the National League Cubs team together mattered less than he would eat ice cream in public with me. So when in early June, the Cubs were in the final game of the playoffs, Mr. Brown made sure to give everyone on the team a time at bat. Maybe it was the pressure from the other boys, or maybe he'd figured out that baseball camaraderie had turned into a crush for me. Either way, Colin joined in with the whispered chorus of, "You better not strike out, Durkee." I wish I could say that one of my 2 hits that season happened in that game. Not so. I went down swinging, but at a ball so far above my head, it could have been mistaken for a bird. But even without any contribution from me, we took first place that year. And when all the boys jumped on each other as if we just won the World Series, Mr. Brown patted me on the head and said, "Good game, Lisa, you did great." And then I rode my bike home alone. I didn't even know the word feminist at that point, but tomboy was a title at which I cringed, even while I tried to best the boys in class in every sport. Climbing first to the top of the gym on a rope, racing against Fred Glick while the theme from 2001 Space Odyssey played. I only wanted to be able. I wanted to be capable. There wasn't any thought about equality or rights in what I did. I simply wanted to do anything that was in front of me, and everything. By the time I was in 8th grade, though, I'd learned a little bit about being kept out of things because of being a girl. I hadn't been allowed to play junior league baseball, and when my brother and his friends played pickup football games, they no longer wanted me to play, even when they were short on numbers. What a drag. I don't know if it was truly from a sense of injustice or from a stronger dislike of polyester that didn't breathe, or maybe simply becoming more of a rabble-rouser or more countercultural at 14, but I did take a stand on athletic issues of inequality in gym class at Franklin School. Again, my mother didn't make an issue out of anything, and in this instance, she let me go it alone, but was supportive of my doing what I felt I should be allowed to do. That it was the right thing to do wasn't part of the conversation, but in retrospect, I know it was, because all of you don't have to wear gym suits. They were light blue on the bottom and white and blue with horizontal stripes on top, and they were all one piece, just for all of your enjoyment. Older teachers, ladies, did you have to wear gym suit onesies? Yeah. More than anything, they were unfair. While we girls had to go to Morris stores to buy our constricting 20th century athletic corsets, to Morris stores where they sold scout uniforms and old people's uncomfortable looking underwear, the boys could shop anywhere they wanted that sold blue shorts and mustard yellow t-shirts. So after 2 years of being uncomfortable in gym suits that never fit my longer than average back, connected to my longer than average legs, after 2 years of having to wear a suit made long enough only by being wide, I rebelled. I didn't say anything, but only arrived at the locker room with a bag holding my revolutionary garb. Day 1 was uneventful. Miss Rogers, whose mascara always threatened to run if she ran, she never batted a matted eye. The other girls were dumbfounded, not knowing that beneath her carefully coiffed and primped exterior, Miss Rogers was a young woman whose sensibilities around gender were formalized in college in the early 70s. And for her, revolutions were won quietly, almost insidiously. So she never said a word. Day 2 was very different. Coach B, for whom the title Mr. was a put-down, barked my name immediately when I entered the gym, and if possible, his crew cut may even have stood up straighter. "What do you think you're doing, Durkee?" "Well, Mr. Blindow, it looks like we're going to be playing volleyball." How a man can move from query to rage in an instant is beyond me, but Mr. Blindow did so and then sent me directly to the principal's office. This wasn't the first time that I'd been sent to the principal's office, but I'd never felt more confident of the outcome. I knew that I was in the right. There was nothing, or so I'd been absorbing from the world around me, there was nothing that could prevent me from dressing just like the boys if I wanted to. Mr. James Xavier Paterno agreed. Again, there was no great furor about the change. Mr. Paterno simply sent me back to the gym with a sealed note to deliver to Mr. Blindo. And he moved me into the game already in progress. On day 3, 2 other girls brought their shorts and t-shirts to the locker room too, and we all changed while modestly ducking our heads over our slightly bumpy chests. In the mailing that was sent to my best friend's little sister for the next school year, there was no mention of gym suits or where to find them at Morris stores. Chalk one up to feminist yearnings before we even knew the words. Thanks for listening, everyone. And I earnestly hope that when you have the idea to do something that interests you, you'll go for it. And this includes offering a chapel talk. You don't want to hear me week after week. So don't let naysayers and don't let convention keep you from doing anything. And especially don't worry about embarrassment or hurt. Trust me. Trust me on this. Those memories, they don't last. But what comes out of it does.